Welcome to this edition of You and the Law. My name is Jonathan Ochom, your host. You and the Law is simply what it is, you and the law. In this show, we try to demystify the law for the ordinary person, make it simple for a teacher, for a lawyer, for a farmer, for a doctor, for a border rider, for a cleaner, everyone in our society. This program touches on every aspect of our lives that relate to the law. Is it marriage? Is it property? Is it land? Is it traffic? Anything that touches on the law will be discussed in this program. Today, we're going to have an interesting conversation that will focus on the institution of marriage. I know most of us have attended marriage functions. Some of us are married. Most of us viewers are married. But what does it mean to be married? How does the law look at marriage? So this conversation today will focus on demystifying the whole topic around marriage and how it is viewed from the eyes of the law. And to help us do this, I have a learned mind with me, and it's none other than my friend, my colleague, Emmanuel Elau. Emma, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. Hello, viewers. Thank you for having me on the show.
In House of Talent, when you fist bump, you spread the love. So you do this, then you spread the love. Yeah, so Emma, how have you been?
Well, I've been great.
Yeah, we're coming in from 42 days of a lockdown. How has it been on your end?
It's been quite difficult. You know, you wake up in the morning, you sit around the compound, you look at the time. You know, you lose sense of the calendar because you fail to understand which is a Monday and which is a Sunday.
You're even lucky that you have a compound. Some people live in one-bedroom houses
and
have nothing to look except their, iron sheets.
Yeah, sure.
And really, you're our first guest really on this program. And why do you think it's sort of important for people to just know about the law? Because I know you've been teaching law and practicing law for all these years. Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you. You know, when it comes to the law, we basically live the law, on a day-to-day basis. Whether it is in your bedroom, there is a law that governs it. If you're married, for example, even if you're single, there could be something touching on the law because you might be in your bedroom with an underage girl, or you might be with another person's wife. All the things are the law. When you jump on a border, there is law. When you're driving, we're talking about traffic. If you go to a restaurant, you must ensure that you have the money because you're consuming someone's energy and investment. So you must be able to pay for that. So we interact with the law at all times.
It's part of our everyday life.
Yes.
Man, you don't want to be in trouble after many years of working hard only to realize that you have no rights at all simply because you didn't celebrate any of the marriages that are recognized within the laws of Uganda. With that, we come to the end of this edition of You and the Law. It's a bye from us. See you next time.
People at the moment are struggling to understand the older generation because times have changed. Technology has come in.
They've moved on.
Yes.
We're the ones sitting back and wondering, what is my child on to? TikTok has surpassed WhatsApp. The other one I call, I never call it Facebook, it's Bookface. Why are you on Bookface? Dad, it's Facebook.
Yes.
Me, I keep saying I have a foot amongst the millennials.
Yeah.
And I understand the traditionalists.
Okay.
There's a song in the 60s, by the way, and in the 90s, 70s, where they're like, parents don't understand.
Yes.
Remember Prince?
Yes.
Prince.
Creativity is at the heart of everything we do. Every day we wake up in the morning, we have to think about creating something. You have to think about what you're going to do, how you're going to go about it. What are the problems that you want to solve? How do you turn around the negativity around you by creating a product that will solve that problem? Do you see problems around you? Do you know how to solve the problem? There are people who wake up every day and every single day in the morning to think about the ideas that will change the world. They are called creative minds. Everyone is born with a DNA of creativity, and everyone has the DNA of creating something that will change the world. Are you thinking? Are you creating? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Creative Industry Talk. My name is Eddie Okela, and this week on the program, we focused on the audacity of hope to continue creating, even in this pandemic situation, is something that we are discussing today. My name is Eddie Okela, and my guest this morning, not just a guest, but also a long-term friend, is a creative mind, the man who has been doing it and is a resident panelist on the Creative Industry Talk, back from the outside countries, as we say it in Uganda, and is now here. Faisal Chiwewa, welcome back to the program.
Thanks, Eddie.
How are you, Faisal?
I'm good.
Great, and you've been traveling quite a bit of late. Would you like to tell us the experience of traveling as a creative mind? What are you seeing, and where are you, how are people doing it?
I think, what traveling really helps is it opens you up to new ideas, to see that people are not sleeping and not worried about yesterday or tomorrow, but they are really thinking about the future. And when you see what is actually surprising, that when you get to the flight, you realize that there's been a lot of changes done around mobility or moving or flying. And it's exciting to see our technology is stepping in. And I realize that there's a lot of new artificial intelligence being used for the safety of the people, but also for the comfort of those who are traveling, to be not so much in contact with other humans. So for me, it's really exciting to see that when you arrive at different airports, you feel like you're managed by robots somehow. And it's fascinating, but also it scares us who are still struggling with the opportunities to work. Yeah. I love the idea of creativity in terms of getting work done by artificial intelligence, but also you worry about those that are not able to get jobs, that they are going to be running out. The pandemic has really given us a challenge to see that we are going to be working differently and engaging people differently. So this whole moving around is really, for me, it gives us personally a challenge to start thinking a bit more on how do I sustain my career. Otherwise, I'll run out. I might be replaced by a robot.
Yeah. Wow. We want to just take a moment to welcome every one of you guys all across the world to the Creative Industry Talk. And the Creative Industry Talk exists as a platform for us to have a conversation around the creativity and around the creative minds and how we're creating things that solve problems in the world. Faisal, what a moment right there, from your travel. I mean, I just wanted to ask you a question. Do you see the sense of us failing to get back to where we used to be, where human-to-human connectivity is really very much needed?
There's a yearn of people really, wondering what is better at the moment. It also comes in with the different age groups. Some people who are older enough trying to keep away from other people for their own safety, but those who are young are really yearning to have more people to see, to talk with, as it was before. And it's that conflict, I think, at the moment. But what I think, and coming from an events organizing perspective, I think we are going to be entering into an era of hybrid interaction, whereby we've built an audience now during this period of COVID, our online audience, that when things get back to normal, inshallah, we'll find that we can't leave them alone. We can't leave them out of what we are doing. we have to keep them. They want to keep engaging because we've invested so much in keeping that audience.
Yeah.
So I think what is going to happen is that we are going to continue with the physical interaction as well as the online engagement of our audience. So there's going to be a very much hybrid version of doing things. Yeah.
Wow. You who are watching the show from anywhere across the world, we want to hear your opinion. Do you think that the world will ever go back to where we used to be? Do you think human-to-human interactions will ever get back to where we used to be? Do you think we're going to have physical contacts again? Hugs, you know? A world where there is no hug, there is no shaking hands would be a very difficult world.
Yeah.
Even animals relate to each other, and that will be very difficult for us going forward. But Faisal, let's dive into our discussion, from that recap you've given us about your experiences driving and traveling across the world. Today's topic, if we may put the topic up there, is about how do we have the audacity to continue, the audacity of hope to continue creating even in the pandemic situation. And I'm talking about the creativity of us thinking about the things that we need to do. Can you just keep the topic up, team, so that we can just have a moment to recap on that one? The Creative Industry Talk topic today is about the audacity of hope to be creative in this pandemic situation. We're talking about the creative mind. The audacity there is that the ability of a human being to continue thinking creativity, to continue thinking ahead of time, and the hope that if I continue to create even in this pandemic situation, I will still be able to be rewarded for my creativity. I will pay. What are your thoughts on that one, to start with the topic itself?
I think, it's a good thought, and based on the conversations that we've had around from different creatives, there has been a very strong, despite the odds and whatever is going on with the artists, many of the creatives have really continued to create work. So they have had that resilience, they have had that audacity, as you can call it, to continue being, keeping their minds busy at work and developing content. The challenge is, what are we going to do with that content? Because most of it is not, I don't know how it's going to be realized. Of course, there are different processes of creativity or different disciplines for theater, for dance, for music, for film. I think the challenge will be, as much as it is being created, how are we going to realize it? What is the next step of this process of creating work? How are we going to have it shared with the rest of the audiences and the people that enjoy it? But it's a very strong will for artists to continue really working. Not all of them, though. I mean, I think some of them have going through challenges, mental challenges or depressions, and not all art forms are able to create content at home. Others need to be out there in the field, and they can't because they're locked down, they are stuck in their homes. So there is that also balance in terms of, like, those who are able to, the writers are writing, the playwrights are writing, but there are those who have to go into the field and their content is really based on them being out there. They can't, and I think that's a big challenge.
Wow. Faisal, talking of the mental capacity and the mental situation of artists during the creation process, a lot of people are finding it very difficult. They have been in a lockdown for so long, and the creative people are not good at being controlled in a very confined area. Some are running. Yes. How is that going from your interactivity with the artists that you've met all across the world, from the areas you've been since the lockdown started?
I mean, we are in a very unfortunate situation as a people in this country, because I think whereas the government supports the vulnerables, that those that get the support, I think the creative arts are not really looked at as the vulnerable. They don't have to be, because we are creatives, we can figure out things. But in such a situation where people are really locked down, I think they needed support more than anything before, And I think the confinements that they're living in are very challenging because most of them, live in shared rooms, shared homes. There is not really much space for them to feel free. There's not also no room for recovery. Sometimes when you are in situations like this, you need some space. You need to be alone. You need to be somewhere to be yourself, or to figure out things, have your own moment. And some of the places when the way we live is difficult. You have your wife, kids, and stuff, and you are all in a two-roomed house. There is no space, and you can't walk, even if you try to go and jog around. So that situation is really making more people, I think, mentally sick. And the other unfortunate thing is that I don't think there is any plan for that. I think we've talked about that before, the plan to help people to get through this mental problem. Like they did in the North after the war. After the Coney War, they had some reconciliation things, they had some treatment centers for war victims. I think we need to treat this pandemic as a war, and we also need to think for the people and say, okay, whereas we are raising money for COVID treatment, for COVID vaccines, we also need to raise money for the after COVID, psychological treatment of people. Not only artists, but also even doctors or nurses or health or essential workers, whoever it is. I think there is that need for to prepare for the people to know that after this, even now, people are going through a lot. And I think it's something that we need to consider, and that's why I think it's also important to be careful with people. When you're engaging with them, don't push people too much, because you don't know what's going on. Some people might have not had lunch or dinner for 2 or 3 days, and then you're there telling them what to do, So,
Wow. Well, Faisal, we're going to take a small break, to just, have coffee. But as we take this break, we are discussing the audacity of hope for people to continue creating and being creative in this pandemic situation, even when it looks bleak and, a total dark reality. They are still creating, and we want to come back and have that discussion here with you. And we also want you to get online and actually be part of this discussion. Send us your kisses and disses. We want to know, are you creating? If you're creative, how are you handling the mental state? Are you still creating? If you're not, what are you doing in this time? Are you changing your career, or you're saying, no, I will continue to push my work out? And how are you publishing your work, or how are you getting your work out? Ladies and gentlemen, we're going for a break, and when we come back, we want to hear from you, how you're doing it. This is the Creative Industry Talk. People at the moment are struggling to understand the older generation because times have changed. Technology has come in.
They've moved on.
Yes.
We're the ones sitting back and wondering, what is my child on to? TikTok has surpassed WhatsApp. The other one I call, I never call it Facebook, it's Bookface. Why are you on Bookface? Dad, it's Facebook.
Yes.
Me, I keep saying, I have a foot amongst the millennials.
Yeah.
And I understand the traditionalists.
Okay.
There's a song in the 60s, by the way, and the 90s, 70s, where they're like, parents don't understand.
Yes.
Remember Prince?
Yes.
Prince.
Welcome back to the program. My name is Eddie Okela, and my guest this morning is Faisal Chiwewa, who is the founder and, of course, the artistic director of Bayimba International Foundation. You know, here in Kampala. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
You have been traveling quite a bit, and the first part of the show, you were telling us your experience of what you have been seeing wherever you are in your, travel. And the topic of discussion which we want to really dig deep into right now, Faisal, is about the audacity of hope for people to continue creating and being creative in this pandemic situation, even when we're in the lockdown. And we want everybody out there to participate. Audacity of hope to be creative. Are you creating work? And if you're creating work, how is that working out? Where do you publish the work? And Faisal, what would you say to the people, or what would you say to the person who is trying to be creative in this time but does not know where the work should be? Should they continue to be working, by the way?
Yeah, to be honest, I think what the pandemic has really given us, it has gotten some folks out of the cages, out of the shadows, out of their rooms. I've seen folks who have not seen for a long time. They're like having online shows, like they're having talk shows, and I'm like, what? This guy's still there? You know, I think it has really helped because people have sat home. I'm also one of them. Who are like, during the first lockdown, I was like, I am not doing anything online. You know, remember? For the whole year, I didn't do anything from March 2020 to May, actually, this year. So I was like, I don't want to do anything online. But then I realized, why not? You know, I think I still have something to offer. I can do something. And I came out. So I've seen my friend David Kaiser also coming out with Doreen doing a talk show. I see Nabunjo doing a talk show. I'm like, this is actually interesting because people have started to realize that you cannot just sit down, even if you're just creating content for the future, you need to share something. You need to come out and show people that you're still alive. Otherwise, we will think that you were taken by COVID. But also, I think what I realized, like when I was attending a festival in Germany, I think last month, one of the things I realized that was very interesting is that people find ways to get themselves, active. And the most fascinating thing was, like, we attended a premiere of a production, which was a puppetry production that was done by the Bax Theatre, Puppetry Theatre from Cape Town. And they had 35 people who were working on this production. It's a very beautiful puppetry production. 2.5 hours. And this production was supposed to premiere at the Theatre Die Welt in Düsseldorf. So the cast had, taken entire people. They had to do the production and then fly to Düsseldorf and then premiere it at the opening. It was the main event, the main production for the festival. They had put in a lot of money. And then I think a week before they were flying out, first of all, South Africa went into a lockdown. Second, they were all tested with COVID. So they could not leave the country. But look, the festival had organized. They could not cancel the festival. They could not cancel the opening. So what they did, they had to stream the entire production, and they had to invest. So it was a whole new invention for them to sit in the artscape in Cape Town, to do the entire production and then stream it live. As they're doing it with the whole new setup of technology, cameras, inserts and all that stuff. And we were seated in a hall in Düsseldorf, 250 people watching a production that is being done live. They didn't have an audience, but we were this way, they were that way. And they made it happen. And we all enjoyed it. I didn't even feel that they were not there. I felt like, because it was a very big screen and we were all seated enjoying it together, they were also doing it. So it was really, for me, a very interesting invention. And I see the future where we are going to go. The hybrid, engagement of content nowadays, that we cannot deny people now that we are going to sit back and wait and relax. I think the invention, the new approach to work has to come in with challenges, but also with creativity and innovation and openness and flexibility. So we have to figure out how to continue working.
Wow. Faisal, I mean, this is a very interesting point you're bringing out there. A lot of people who help the creative minds in their process of creativity. And if you're wondering who we are calling actually a creative mind, is the person who think of a problem or sees a problem and create a solution to close the gap that is brought about by that problem. And we're talking about creative designers, people who design marketing and communication posters or flyers, or they put this thing together for you to know the information about that particular product or about that particular brand. I mean, you see billboards out there. There are people who think creatively about how to bring that message to you. And we're talking about people who go into the studio, sit down to write the song, and find somebody with a nice, beautiful voice or handsome voice to actually sing that song and bring it out. Those are called creative people. They think creatively on how best they can bring it out. Everybody is able to think, but not everybody is able to be creative in their process of doing things. Yeah. And we're talking about people who design cars. They sit down, think about how this car is going to look like. Okay, I mean the seats, the driving, the steering wheel, and the tires and all of the things, so that when you sit in this car, you feel comfortable while driving this car. Those people are still creating stuff.
Yeah.
The question is, will the world continue to consume this thing from them if this situation of the pandemic continues, Faisal?
Yeah, it depends on what you're creating and for what audience. I mean, look at what Richard Branson did. Going to space for 1 hour, and now they are opening it up for the rest of the world for $280,000 to go and just spend an hour in space. So I think we can't stop innovating, because the need for products and services are always going to be there.
Yeah.
The need for minds to see different things. We love, as humans, we love color, we love to be challenged, we love to be surprised. So we cannot just, get comfortable with what we know or what we have. And for me, that's one of the challenges I find here. I talked about some time ago about how I'm always surprised to see that we still use the same Tampeco from Mukwano, the same type of Tampeco that we used when we were kids in the 80s, So I find it challenging that they haven't innovated new things, There is nothing new coming out of this company. And when I try to investigate, I was trying to invest, I still want to invest into product design, and not for just clothes or whatever, but I'm really looking into industrial products, and for creative processes, and also the research on that. How do you create products from your local materials? Like the things we have a lot of wood. How can we create products from wood, not just timber for making plastering or whatever, but how do we start being innovative in a way we use products? When you look at people who are designing things for purposes of use, some of them are not very popular, but the thought behind it and the process of putting it out for the public to use it and make it useful, it's very exciting, and I find that really not so much here. We are very much driven by quick things, and that's where the challenge I find. You find people want to make something quickly because they need to survive. We are always in the survival mood. We are always in the rush to make money, rather than sitting down and relaxing. Like the scientists, they sit down, they can spend 5 years looking for a dose, leave alone the COVID one, but people can spend 10 years researching the treatment, and of course it takes a lot of money, a lot of patience, but you come out with something new, something innovative. So here we've not been very lucky to have this, but you also don't blame the people, because there is no support system. When for doctors, they are always supported to, they have research budgets, and they sit down and they are not worried about rent or kids going to school. But for creatives, there is no support system. So you cannot put your life for 5 years researching about new shoes, because you want to put a product out, yet you don't have someone to pay for your rent that day. So this is where the challenge is, and we need to investigate how can we create some sort of structures and systems that are going to help our young people, our creative minds, to be at ease when they are working. I was talking to one of my friend, Goretti Chomhendo, and I was asking her, what are the challenges of writers in Uganda? And she told me that one of the biggest okay, not the biggest, maybe the best gift you can give a writer is space. And I'm like, what do you mean space? Like, yes, she said like space. Get Eddie who wants to write a book, take them to Lunkulu, tell them you're here for 6 months, you don't need to worry about rent, you don't need to worry about food, write, and they will do their job. But they don't have that space here because they're worried about this, they're worried about that, no one is there to support them, no structure, no financial backup. So that's where we are really, really not settled. And then we are hit by this COVID that is not ending. So you find us in a cycle that is never ending with our problems.
Faisal, that's a very good perspective right there. I just want to take you to, if there is no one thinking for you as a creative mind, and I'm talking about creativity from lawyers are becoming more and more creative. Lawyers are going to become, they're moving from the traditional law practice as a legal attorney that goes in court to represent a person or an individual, a community, to now cooking food. And they're saying, I need to cook food and I can make very good food. That's being creative, you know?
Yeah.
And the way they present the food, we have a very prominent lawyer right now who is cooking food, and he seems to be making a lot more money from cooking food than the legal practice itself. Now, the question is, do you need somebody, or does one need somebody to give them hope to continue creating because somebody is going to buy? Or you can see a gap in the market like Senson is always doing. He's made open shoes from the tires, used vehicle tires, which bags from the tires. I find him very creative.
Yeah.
And are there people who will always buy that? Yes. And how much is it? Are there the market for it? Do you need somebody to take you somewhere to create that? Or you can actually have the hope to say, if Faisal is dressing like this, I think I can give Faisal this hope to be able to have this. What do you think?
I think, you know, the difference with professionalism and passion is whereby you find a lawyer who's who has a bar, he passed the bar and he can practice law, and then he's like, I like to cook food, my passion is in cooking. If it doesn't work, he has a backup plan. He will go back to law and study. And there's a difference with the artists. Some of us are not, we studied art, that's it. And that's where we fall, or we did study art, but we are doing it. There's not so many backup plans. However, I think what COVID has done has really opened up so many people. I've seen many artists or creatives who are venturing into other opportunities. They're really trying to cultivate other ways of earning revenue. And it's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. But I don't think the issue is like people need to be inspired. Oh, yes, people can be inspired. Eddie, you can inspire people like you do with, except me, you failed to get me to the gym. Someone told me today that, oh, Faisal, you go to the gym. I'm like, no. Yes. But you inspire people to work out, to get their bodies physically fit. And that's, it can also be a creative way. But maybe you could say like, if Eddie is doing this gymming and stuff, like what can I create for him to be as an artist? What can I get him to be that is Ugandan, that is me, that can others can start?
For example, by workout t-shirts?
Exactly. And recently, I was talking yesterday, was it yesterday or a few days ago, I was walking around, and then I realized that these days you find many women wearing tight, what do you call them? Those tight shorts.
Yes.
Which it was never like this before. Women always covered themselves. They didn't like anything. Now you find them on the street jogging with their it's a new way that they are feeling free. There's more freedom and also confidence for women
for whatever they are wearing, which is created by an artist.
Exactly. So I really think, and you find they are trying also to find those that are more designing. So it's not even about the body, but it's also about the design of what they are wearing, the formation. And I like it because before, I think 10 years ago, it was very rare to find a woman walking on the streets like this. Yeah. Now they go to town anywhere, you find them in the mall in this kind of dressing. So how do artists think about this new approach to people? Do they study? Do they
look at
research?
The trends?
Do they do research and see how are people behaving? And but also the challenge is that when I was doing a research paper for a German government, and then they asked me about the leisure culture in Uganda, and I could not find statistics. Like, no, it's not there. Even when I went to the Uganda Statistics Bureau
Bureau of Statistics,
and I asked them, what are the statistics of the leisure? What's the leisure culture in, let's say, for example, in Kampala? What do people spend on? We don't know, and that also helps to inform people who are planning, like the KCCA. They need to know how much people spend in the bars, in the restaurants, on the concerts. What do they eat? What do they like to eat? Where do they like to spend their time between 5 and 6? So that when you're planning the city, you can understand that between this time and this time,
they like to go in this place.
People like to go to this place. Maybe not a particular place, but people like to do this. People like to go to they like this kind of music. So that you have an idea of your city and how people use it. And that's when you're adding into new buildings or authorizing new buildings, you can advise people who are building, not to just build malls and stuff. You can tell them, you know what, according to the trend of people, the way they go out, the way they use the city, the way they engage, these are the things that we would recommend for you to add into your building. You know what I mean? So it's also an issue of research that maybe artists or creatives or even authorities don't put in place first to say that this is how we need people to do. This is where the trend is going. This is how we can help our city, our population to grow. So it's a mix of not being very, thoughtful in the processes, as well as not having the capacity maybe to do what is needed. Yeah.
Well, Faisal, we're going to take another break, and when we come back, we want to look into what you have just said, which is very interesting. There are a lot of opportunities when you're talking that I see coming. But are the artists taking advantage of this? Are you, as a creative mind, taking advantage of it? Are you advising the authority, or are you creating a product that will attract the authority to actually fund your project or to be part of the consumption of your project? Stay right there. Creative Industry Talk. We'll be right back after this break.
Attack you, they vilify you, and the goal is to weaken you financially, is to weaken your honor. These are slanderers. So I'm glad that someone would stay up at night to ask and learn about me. And I pray that in the next 2 months, because I know many Ugandans who travel overseas, when they go there, one of the things, because the media has been so much, and Sam Kutesa, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, has really not done a good job. He has dropped the ball on this issue. Why? So many of us are being accused of being gay killers, including me. You've just heard that person. Uganda is being accused that we kill gays, which actually is absolutely untrue. And because of this, it has affected our tourism. It affects people who go overseas to do work or study. It affects whenever you go to a conference. Hi, my name is Eddie Okello. Oh, where are you from? I'm from Uganda. Oh, you are the gay killers. And then you begin to describe. So one of the things that I've done is I've written a book, which should be coming out. I know that I keep saying the same thing, but the work of doing a book takes a long time, and I wish I could be supported. Many people who write on this subject, like Sylvia Tamale, she's supported by the Rockefeller Foundation, Carnegie Foundation. There is money.
Is a very big brand, and as we go on, we will probably discuss the things we're trying to do to see that things change for the better.
Good. Sean, on the CEO bench, for everyone who is following, we're live on our YouTube studio where we actually stream from. So YouTube studio, for everybody asking for a link, is actually House of Talent Uganda.
Confident in themselves and what they are offering. I think that's the biggest problem. Like, women will easily settle for a less pay than men would.
Mona Onyeto Deke goes on to say, I think this is a comment, says, I didn't know that beauty products are taxed at 60%. Whoa.
They are. I pray that changes soon, but they are.
So with that challenge of 60%,
setting up the company, you're doing tours all across the world. You know, a personal account is great, but how these things are taxed becomes important for you know, for your business later on. As soon as you cross that threshold of 50 million a year, you know, you're now in
the interest become more shares.
Yes.
Welcome back to the program. My name is Eddie Okila, and this is the Creative Industry Talk. In the studio is Faizo Chiwewa, who is the founder and artistic director of Baimba International Foundation, who is also about to launch a new product called Umva Creatives.
Yeah, Umva Creatives.
We want to know, you are creating, the audacity for you to continue creating and the hope that we will buy into your product at this hour. It's quite amazing. While others are stuck and don't know what to do. But again, you mentioned something that I want to go back to before we went for a break, which was people need to look at available opportunities that is there. And don't wait for somebody to come and tell you, please design for me this, or please create for me this. As a creative mind, you've got to think about what is the opportunity that is available for me in this space, in this time, in this situation, in this season. Many of them are quite very depressed at home, and some have a lot of hope. I've met so many people who said, I'm recording fantastic music now from the recording artist. I've met people like Paolo Akiki who says, I'm having fantastic painting right now. Producer at Gallery says, I'm thinking I work from home, so I see the leaves on the road, I see the traffic, so I'm creating a lot more things right now. And so I asked him, says, so the audacity of hope that when you create things in this time, people are going to buy is amazing. And are people going to buy this thing? Yes and no. So Faizo, back to you. You're also having the hope that if you launch Umva Creatives, and we want to first of all know what is Umva Creatives, and what is the platform all about. Do you have this artist who have this hope to continue creating the art pieces that are going to go selling? What is Umva Creatives to start with?
Umva Creative is a platform that we've been working on since April last year, when we went into the lockdown. There was that whole...
Was it born out of lockdown situation?
There was that whole, period of supporting artists, we needed to support ourselves because the government supported the essential people, and then we realized that the artists, no one came in to support them. So everyone was looking for food, rent, and stuff like that. And then we realized that actually, even if you give someone 10 kilos of posho and 5 of beans, for how long are they going to survive on these things? So we realized with my team and realized that we need to do something that is, in case this lockdown is over, and if there is another pandemic that will come after, we are not leaving artists to stay without earning anything. So that's why we started this platform. And Umva is a kind of like a rebellious system, which is really looking at Umva itself. It means a universal method for value access, meaning that we want to make sure that all the artists have access to money, direct revenue, without middlemen. And this is also a very good, so it's kind of like a cryptocurrency software that we've built. You get if you sell your painting, you get your cash. There's no middleman trying to do what, take 40% at whatever. You're transacting with your own revenue.
Say for example, if I want to buy an art piece from Faizo Chiwewa, am I able to order direct and say yes?
You order that because you see the piece, you see it on the platform, then you order it. The artist gets their money instantly. Not again, Faizo send me a check or invoice. No, the money comes. So what happens when you get to the platform, you register, and when you register, you get a bank account. So that bank account is all where your money goes. Immediately it's paid for. So, but that's on the end of the artist. Yeah. And then on the end of the buyer, you can also just sign up as a buyer, and then you put, when you sign up again, you get a bank account. So you can transfer your money from your bank or Stanbic or whatever, Barclays, and you put on that account. So what it helps if you're a buyer is that every time you need to buy something, you're not going to pay these transfer fees, so you transfer your money at once. And then when you're paying within the system, you're not going to be charged for transaction fees. That's what we're trying to do. And you can also pay with mobile money, you can pay with PayPal, you can pay with bank transfers. So all these systems, we have integrated everything so that we don't leave anyone out. But that's on the end of the buyer and the seller. And then why did we set up this Umva Creatives? Is we realized that when you walk around, artists create work. And then I've been having this conversation with my friend Margaret Kafero, and we're like, when you go to all these embassies of Uganda that are abroad, we have 37 embassies and 37 residencies, official. Yeah. But you'll never find a Ugandan art piece at any of the residencies or any of the embassies, unless if one person or one individual just bought whatever those things they buy on the street. You find Chinese works, and I'm like, this is an embassy. You should have at least some of the works from Uganda. So the platform is going to help to bridge that gap, whereby if you don't have money to buy an art piece, you can rent it. You can say, Eddie, you have a creative industry show, and I want to have a different background every week. You just go on the platform, rent the work, it's delivered to you, you use it, you take it back, you pay, and that money goes direct to the artist. So that in that way, you have an opportunity to have a different scene every time you're doing your show. You can do it for your office, you can do it for your home, you can do it for events, those people who have events or weddings or functions where they need to have different works. And also the other thing is that many people don't have Ugandan art. We are now trying to figure out the costing of how much can we sell this work, because you have to value. Yes. The pricing is very difficult. Yeah. I'm telling you, I've been having this conversation for like a month. How much do we price this work? But we are trying to figure out that how can Ugandans afford to buy this work, because we all love art. In one way or the other, we just don't know. Many people don't know that they love art. That's why you find them buying fake flowers, they buy fake Chinese stuff. But if they have an opportunity, like you go to Jumia and order food at your home, you go to a platform where you can just look and say, maybe this wall doesn't look nice. Let me have a piece of Mona Lisa or a Daudin or a Paul Ndema or a Samson. This is what we are trying to do, and I think this platform is going to go. This is just for the 1.0 version. The 2.0 is going to include music. It's going to include other used products like an old guitar, or you want to buy a set of drums, you want to sell your stuff and things like that. So we are building it to be an e-commerce for art.
Okay. Yeah. Faisal, you speak very creative, very passionate about this, and I'm sure somebody out there who is trying to create is still stuck. I've met so many artists out there who are struggling to create something, and they say, Eddie Okello, for you, how do you even come up with these ideas? And are people going to ever pay you for these platforms you're creating and these things you're trying to do? And I've always told people, I don't see the numbers. And I've always told people, aim to have 1%. If you have that 1%, that 1% will reach out to the next and to the next. The mistake we have as creatives is to think that when you create something, you need to have a huge number of people following you, 100 and millions of people, then you feel comfortable. Numbers necessarily does not represent or translate to the viability of that, or the need for that platform to be there. So I'm not a person who always look for huge number of people following me. But I want to take you to a point where, Faisal, you talked about creating stuff and giving a platform for the artist and the creative people to do. I don't see people who are into woodwork, for example, they're always left out. They are very creative people. They are always locked in their space. They don't quite come up to think about this. Is it a lack of that this kind of creative minds don't know their ability to be able to create things, that we need furniture at home, we use the furniture, we use chairs, but they are totally locked out. Are they going to have a platform?
Yeah,
you know.
Actually, I mean, it's very good you asked this question because during our research process, when we were researching this platform, what is going to do, this version that we're doing, we had a lot of engagements with artists, and actually I learned a lot. I mean, I've been doing with art for the past 20 years, but even still, I'm still learning, and I learned a lot through this process because our first focus was on the visual art, the paintings, you know, and then we realized that, oh, we also have the sculptors, we have the interior designers, and most of the artists are double, they do these things double, like Edward Wadimba is a very nice, you know, batik. He does quite some batik, but he also does a lot of nice paintings, but he also does furniture. He does beds. There's this hotel here, which is 99, is it 900 something? Yeah. Somewhere on Kisementi. Yeah. He designed everything there, and I was like, are you sure? And he took me around and said the beds, the furniture, the chairs. You might think it was ordered on IKEA, but very nice work. So we realized that we had left these guys out, and then, so we've added them. Yes. We've added them onto the platform.
But are they willing to come forward? Because most times they locked on. You look at a guy who does nice woodwork, and he's telling you he has no idea of how his work is.
Because most of them, you know, there's also this challenge. First of all, they don't know that there are opportunities, but they have not invested in knowing how to sell their work to bigger people. They always use this word of mouth contact, or some people you meet and they are doing great works and you never know that they are doing great till you find out, like, I didn't know Edward does furniture. I didn't know. I knew very recently when I was doing this platform, and he was like, and he was the one actually championing the movement of getting visual artists. And then later on he's like, by the way, I also have some work I don't like what? And then he showed me, and I'm like, this is amazing. So that opportunity, but also people not knowing how to get their products easily delivered to people. We are still in that era of people doing work, and they're, you know, you make a bed and cannot get out of the house. You know, I think we need artists, like most people in the furniture business, need to start thinking, how do I make a product that is easily transferred, movable, and also can be organized or arranged, or how do they call it, like assembled by someone. I don't need to be there. The way we go to IKEA, and then you buy a piece of art, or you buy a table, you just get it in the boxes and you take it home, and then you fix it yourself, you know. So we need to start understanding also that furniture design is not always about designing something in your studio and then you want someone to bring a truck and then carry it the way, and then no, we need to start moving forward. We need to put the work out. We also need to make it much more easier for people, but also thinking in terms of the spaces, because most of the time we don't, and I don't blame the artists, because we don't have standard spaces in Uganda. No, serious. We don't have standard spaces. You cannot say, you know, in Europe.
But the artist needs to come up with the design of the standard spaces.
No. But, you know, like in Europe, there are standard spaces. A bedroom has to be this size. And the artists know, the people who do furniture know that according to the standards of construction, beds are this size. So if a bed, if I'm making a bed for a room which is standardized, I have to make a bed like this. You get what I mean? Yeah. But here you find this room is 10 by 10, the other one is 3 by 4, the other one is 10. So and
because the artist who designed was a cousin who just called and said he drew it on the paper and said, I want to just finish this.
This is an official thing. This is an official thing that it's guaranteed. You know, it's guaranteed bedrooms or sitting rooms. But here, all beds are 6 by 5 or 4 by 4, or you cannot get another bed of your style. You know, it's difficult. So it makes it very difficult for people who are, you know, living in small spaces to really enjoy the work of, an artist. Of an artist who, you know, who doesn't have, who has no idea of how these spaces are being arranged. So there's still that problem. If we could standardize spaces, and then artists can also be more flexible in terms of like, okay, how do I make things to fit into people's spaces? You know, the minimalism, but also the experimental work of making sure that works are not just for those people who have space.
Wow. Well, we are on the Creative Industry Talk, and we're talking about the audacity to remain creative in the lockdown situation or in a pandemic situation, when there is COVID-19 pandemic situation. Of course, a lot of artists are depressed at the moment and they are not creating stuff. But those who are remaining active and creating are having a platform where they can publish their work. For example, Faiza Chiwewa here is talking about, UMVA Creatives that was born, last April as a platform for artists to, bring in their work, collaborate, and be able to sell their work and showcase their work online, which wasn't there before. And I think it's going to be the first one. Even it was there as a platform for art, wasn't there. And then, of course, we're talking about, if you're remaining active and having the audacity we're talking about is you having the resilience still to be thinking. There are many problems and multitudes of problems in the background, okay, in your backyard, but you still wake up in the morning and say, you know what, I'm going to have to create this product. I'm going to look at the problem that we have in our society, in our community, in our nation, in our region, and I create a product that will, fill in that gap.